Thank you, and thank you, everyone. Good evening. Good evening to all our seekers of wisdom and spirituality. On behalf of Bethlehem Centre, Process and Faith, Cobb Institute, and the Interfaith Center of Arkansas, let me extend a warm welcome to all of you who are present here tonight and those who will be watching later on through our YouTube channel. We are very grateful to be with you, and especially on this Thanksgiving Eve. When we were scheduling the class, I actually did not realize that we'll be meeting the Wednesday before Thanksgiving. So my apologies to those who cannot join because of the holiday tomorrow. Today is our last class. Last session, we talked about silence and listening. And I hope and remind you all to keep them with you very close to your hearts and your spirit and in your spiritual toolbox, especially as we enter this holy season of winter, of Hanukkah, of Advent and Christmas and Bodhi Day and many other religious holidays and spiritual openings from around the spiritual traditions of the world. And do not get too much drowned in the commercial and capitalist noise of the commercialized holidays. The holiday of the shopping that's coming up. So I really think that our last two spiritual practices, silence and listening, are something that we really need to hold on to in the next 30 days or so. So today we talk about O for openness, Q for quest, and X for mystery. I'm going to speak less prose and give you a lot of poems, and we'll rely on our teacher a lot today because I promise you, he is such an expert in openness. He changed this rigid, structured economist to a person who's always open-ended and waiting for outcomes that I never expected. So thank you, Jay, for making me that person that I never was with your teachings on open. Q for quest. Our first spiritual letter. I want to start with these words from Rumi. The intellectual quest is like pearls and coral. The intellectual quest is like pearls and coral, but it is not the same as the spiritual quest. The spiritual quest is in another level. Spiritual wine has a subtler taste. The intellect and senses investigate cause and effect. The spiritual seeker surrenders to wonder. The spiritual seeker surrenders to wonder. Quest means venturing into the unknown, confronting difficulties, challenges, dangers, and then returning home with new understandings and new meanings of our own selves and of the world around us. Maulana Rumi says, run from what's comfortable. Forget safety. Run from what's comfortable and forget safety. Live where you fear to live. Destroy your reputation. Be notorious. I have tried prudent planning for long enough, but now, from now on, I'll be the mad one. I have tried prudent planning long enough. From now on, I will be the mad. Maulana firmly believed spirit can lead us astray. It knows where we need to go. It knows what we truly love, but only if we listen. So you simply need to allow yourself to listen without being deterred by the judgments of others around you. So to practice questing, one has to leave home, both literally, actual home, or symbolically. Travel to sacred places where something has happened or might happen. So it can be an outward journey in search of something, or it could be an inward journey if you cannot go for an outward journey. I'll give you one quick example of an outward journey. While growing up, there is this film which has been very, very important for me and left a big mark um, on my psyche and on the understanding of the feminist movement for me. Thelma and Louise, and I have talked about this movie in one of our sessions called Spirituality and Film. I think after seeing that movie a dozen times, and for living with Thelma and Louise, keeping them very close to my heart for almost 20, 25 years, I took the journey to go to Grand Canyon West. Why? Because the last image of the movie has been very, very important for me. The last scene of the movie, where these two women who have been trying to understand empowerment and a life of freedom and liberty for them ended their life by liberating themselves. And that scene had left such a mark on me. I wanted to go and see that place. It's not a spiritual or religious or pilgrimage based journey, but it was very important for me. So, 25 years after watching the movie, I actually went to Grand Canyon West and visited that space, that place where that movie scene was shot that left such a big mark on my psyche. So, that was questing for me. And it could be anything for you. You might not even need to leave your house or your room. So, let's go to the next letter bit. One more poem from Maulana, who says, so questing could be internal journey, like I said. It could be asking questions. It could be seeking answers. So Maulana says, even though you are not equipped, keep searching. Even though you are not equipped, keep searching. Equipment isn't necessary on the way to the sustainer. Whoever you see engaged in search, become her friend and cast your head in front of her for choosing to be a neighbor of seekers. You become one with yourself, protected by conquerors. You will yourself learn to conquer, just like an ant who seeks the rank of Solomon. Don't smile contemptuously upon its quest. Everything you possess of skills and wealth and handicraft, wasn't it first merely a thought and a quest? Everything you possess of skills and wealth and handicraft, wasn't it firstly merely a thought and a quest? Q for questing to me is very intricately related to O for openness. Maulana has used this phrase in a few poems. Why do you stay in prison when the door is so wide open? I didn't know where to put it, in quest or in openness. So it's right in the middle. Why do you stay in prison when the door is so wide open? So O for openness. And O for openness, I'll start with this poem. I'm one soul and 100,000 bodies. I'm one soul and 100,000 bodies. Each body and soul is no one but me. I pretended to be someone else so that I can enjoy watching all of me. So, spirituality and practice says that openness is very important in spiritual life, to keep an open mind, being open to ideas, to experiences, to people, to world, to sacred. It's an ability to go with the flow. It means being receptive to new possibilities. And Maulana says, moonlight floods the whole sky. Moonlight floods the whole sky from horizon to horizon. How much it can fill your room depends on your windows. And you will see this theme of opening yourself up, opening your windows, the windows of your soul up in Maulana's poetry over and over and over again. So let me give you one more poem on openness, and then we will go to our teacher. But I saw a very strong theme in Maulana's poetry and also in Hafiz poetry, and which is to have lived one religion deeply and fully is like to have lived them all. And I've seen that same openness in saints in this world. So I picked that poem to bring it to you for openness, that openness of soul. And it's one of my favorite poems. Not Christian or Jew, not Christian or Jew or Muslim, not Hindu, Buddhist, Sufi, or Zen, not any religion or cultural system. I'm not from the East or the West, not out of the ocean or up from the ground, not natural or ethereal, not composed of elements at all. I do not exist, not an entity in this world or the next. Not from the Adam or Eve or any origin story. My place is placeless, a trace of the traceless, neither body nor soul. I am drunk from the cup of love. I belong to beloved. I belong to the beloved, and I've seen the two worlds as one. The one I call, the one I know, the one I seek, the one I breathe. Only breath breathing human being. The one I breathe, the only breath breathing human being. Gee, I hope I did not put too many poems out there for question openness. But I struggled to pick a few. Um, but here we are. A lot of stuff for you to work with.
You know, I was trying to think when I first met Sophia. And I barely remember Sophia, but I think that you were leading a workshop for faculty from the college where I taught with one other person, and you were at the Clinton School for Leadership. And I remember seeing you, and I think maybe I think maybe you're the first Muslim that I've really known pretty well, because we've worked so much together. And into your mosque. And I really appreciate in getting to learn, seeing the architecture, seeing your dreams, meeting people from Pakistan and all over, and recently from Afghanistan, because your mosque has been a home for refugees. That requires not the right word. That was an opportunity for me to be open and to be receptive to something that was new for me and different and beautiful. And it didn't mean that theology became a little bit irrelevant I mean, I knew that if we compared beliefs, we would have different beliefs. I knew that what you think about the Quran is not probably what I think about the Quran, for example. A very important belief to you, and we may have differences there. But I still saw a beauty, and I saw a sincerity. And I had another realization that's been with me ever since. It's in being open to you and to the Muslim community. It's not that I need to become Muslim. You can see something beautiful that you don't need to be. You don't need to take on that identity. You couldn't if you wanted to. And I really feel that way about so many of the world's religions myself. I've had the same experience with many Jewish friends, same experience with many Hindu friends. I don't need to be you, but I'm so glad you're here. And I'm somehow changed in the beauty of your difference. Yes, I know we share a common humanity. That's a good thing. But openness also reveals differences. And sometimes the differences can be absolutely beautiful. Who would want sameness? Who would want homogeneity? Who would want only one color? Isn't it so much better that we live in a universe, a world of different ethnicities, different religions? The differences make the whole richer. Now, in process theology, that's true also of God. The differences in our world actually make God richer. God would be less God. God would be less complete were there not the differences that add to the beauty. But you really can't know that unless you risk being open. And so in process theology, one way that we meet God in our daily lives all the time is through fresh possibilities, new possibilities, surprising possibilities that we did not expect. So in process thought, faith is trust in the availability of fresh possibilities. Faith is not fervent belief. Faith is not a dogmatic clinging to something. Faith is an openness of the heart in a spirit of trust that no matter what the situation, there will be fresh possibilities for healing and wholeness and creativity and delight and joy. So who is this? What is this God that we meet through fresh possibilities? It's very easy for people and to think of God as a something somewhere, maybe even located in space somewhere. But another metaphor for God is of a sky-like mind, a sky-like mind that's everywhere at once, embracing the whole in some kind of spirit of love. And so that's to imagine God in a way as open space. Not sure, an open space. Openness leads to questing. That's one dimension of it. And so I'll say a word about questing. When I taught college, I would teach the spiritual alphabet, and we'd go through A, B, C, D, E, F, G, attention, beauty, compassion, kindness, listening, you name it. And a student raised his hand once and he said, I got it, Dr. McDaniel, that, thank you so much, but I'm a questioner. I find my spirituality in questioning. I love to ask questions. That's part of my soul, to ask questions. Where is that in the spiritual alphabet? And I thought, oh, I got it. Great point. I think Q is for questing and Q is for questioning. And you can't question really until you don't first have some doubts. So questing includes doubt, which itself is part of the spiritual pilgrimage. But questing is also part of daily life. And so I thought I'd close my little comment here with a note about how in my home where I am now, how my wife Kathy and I are questing. And it's very ordinary and beautiful and daily. Kathy has taken up gardening. And she's just become a master gardener. She took a whole course in gardening. And she's discovering a world that she did not know. And she loves it. And it inspires her curiosity. And if you go into our backyard, she's teaching me all the time. But you see, taking up a hobby, taking up gardening, that's an adventure. That's a quest. A quest doesn't have to be grand. It can be small and ordinary and daily. Now, for my part, I've got a quest going too. I'm trying to learn how to read music and play the piano. And trust me, I'm terrible at it. I'm too old to remember what all those notes mean on that page. But I love it. And I go to the piano once, twice a day, sit down for 5 minutes, look at that music, try to play. Right now, I'm working on Jingle Bells, playing Jingle Bells by reading notes. That's a quest. That's an adventure. And so my point here is I think questing is ordinary and beautiful and daily. Now, Rumi might say that when we quest, there's a kind of deep something that we're always questing toward, even if we don't know it. That our very souls are questing after a deep beauty and a kind of oneness with a deep beauty. And he would name that oneness God. And so all small journeys of the heart are also a journey toward, into the beloved, the deep one. I think process thought can say the same. I know that process thought would say God is inside each of us, inspiring us to quest. But I wonder if we're not also questing toward a kind of wholeness, a kind of peace, a sense of connectedness, a kind of beauty that's more than us, part of us, more than us. And Rumi calls that the beloved. I think he's right. So openness and questing, those are comments on openness and questing from this process perspective. Now, how about for you? Where have you been enriched by, or where do you find the most important edges of openness and or questing Anybody like to share? Yeah. Tim.
Well, I think of late, those edges are around young people who call themselves non-binary or transgender people who are working through a really difficult process. I think, especially the young people and what this non-binary means for them and how important it seems to be for so many of them. And it's certainly nothing that I experienced as a young person, even any kind of talk of that kind. So for me, I'm having to try and keep myself open. What does this mean? What is it for young people?
You want to understand, right? And you want to be with them in some way. Is that true? To befriend
Yes.
them. Yeah. So you see, that's a kind of, that's love. That's kind of an expression of love, but it's asking the questions and trying to understand. Anybody else, a leading edge of openness for you during these times? Kathleen.
Well, I've started swing dancing, and it's really it's a really big thing. It's a really big change. For some reason, I couldn't do this years ago, and along with it, people are so kind and so generous, and they teach you, and they just they'll teach you also all these other little things. Some nights it's cha-cha-cha, Charleston, the patience, the kindness, but it's fun and it's delightful. And I started out not very good and really shy and really frightened. Somehow wanted to do it, and it's just I'm astonished by it. I don't know. I was looking for some delight. I don't know, something. I hadn't been doing singing, and maybe this was the next thing to try. So there's so much delight in it.
We can quest to understand. We can quest for delight. Tina? You're muted, Tina.
Okay, I'm going to begin a quest Monday with creative writing. I love to write, but I really have not written any poetry or any nonfiction kind of biographical stuff, stories about my childhood or my children's childhood or my family since pre-COVID. And I have had a lot of real, honest to goodness grief, deep grief to deal with since I have written. I lost a brother to cirrhosis of the liver due to alcohol. That disease tends to unfortunately run in my family. Surviving sibling who says that he is going to treat, has yet or it's not. Things, grief, I think, which is one of them. Through writing, I want to sort of unearth. It's been buried and it's been hampered too by the fact that we were our home was hit by the tornado, and we're still recovering from that. I mean, having repairs done, etc. And it's the past several years, what with the death and the COVID, have been really hard for me. And so I want to explore what's been going on in my brain over the past several years. And even if it's not something that I think is written well, I just think I need to unearth some stuff. And the lady who is my mentor is well accomplished, has written numerous books used to have a show on NPR. She's not doing that now, but and I've known her for years, and I think I will really enjoy being reconnected with her and being reconnected with a sense of creativity. And
I think that we have such good examples of grieving can be questing too.
Yeah. Anyway,
And I think it is.
Mm-hmm.
But that you found a tangible way, a palpable way through writing is so interesting. Gary, and then Brian, if you'd say a word about questioning after wisdom, that'd be nice too. Gary.
Two comments. One, just to follow up from Kathleen. We have a new youth, young adult minister at my home church where I am minister emeritus, and they do swing dancing once a month in the sanctuary and move out all the chairs, and the whole sanctuary becomes alive with swing dancing. They offer lessons and then group dancing. And my first reaction was as an old fuddy-duddy saying, swing dancing in the sanctuary. And then I hear from people the joy and the sheer delight and an incarnational expression of wonder, so that I'm convinced, and to hear you speak convinces me even more. The other, for me, quest is that I have talked for over a year or two about writing memoirs, and for 101 understandable reasons have never managed to get started. But the desire to frame my life's journey around 2 or 3 or 4 critical pathways and questions as a way for making sense for myself and as a possible way to share some of that journey with others sits there. And I'm hoping that the time has come for me to actually do this work. I feel like a Don Quixote who has managed to avoid taking the path less traveled. So it feels like a question to ultimately make sense of my life in terms of a faith journey, a love journey, a parent's journey, a gay man coming out journey, and a political journey, and that there's wisdom for me and wisdom perhaps for others.
Mm-hmm. Thanks, Gary. Brian, are you here? I think you put something in chat.
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes.
I've been doing research in the area of wisdom, and what Gary has said, I think is part of the mainstream wisdom, which relies on answers to questions. The answers rely on individuals and in sayings, but they deny the questions, and the questions are more important than the answers. In the New Testament, for example, I find Jesus asks 36 questions in all the 4 Gospels. But the following of the questions is what leads to better questions, better answers, but the ultimate questioning, which is the search for God.
Well, I think everything that everybody says makes so much sense to us, and the delight in swing dancing, the grieving, the questioning. In process thought, the word adventure is used a lot. So God is described as the adventure of the universe. You might say the questing of the universe as one. So our quests are maybe part of that deep quest all the time, but it's a mystery to me, which takes me to our next letter and back to Sophia, because we're going to close out on mystery.
What a beautiful way to close our fall session on X for mystery. You are not a drop in the ocean. You are not a drop in the ocean. You are the entire ocean in a drop. From Maulana Jalaluddin Rumi. And what a beautiful way to start the journey of our own mystery. And Gary, good luck. as you are starting this journey. It could be a scary one for people like me, but all my best wishes to you as you discover your own ocean. So let me give you three poems from Maulana Jalaluddin Rumi on X for mystery, and then we give it to Jay to process wisdom. So X for mystery. To be spiritual is to have an abiding respect for the great mysteries of life. And one of them is the profound distinctiveness of our own soul, and all the other souls around us, the beauty of the nature, of the animal world, of the human world, of the complexities of the universe, of the depths of the divine source. So Maulana says, I asked a person with knowledge of logic and proofs. I asked a person who had knowledge of logic and proofs, who is the one whose knowledge of life is the truth? He gently hinted to me, you tender soul, this is the language of the birds. Only Solomon, the prophet, knows. This is the language of the birds. Only Solomon, the prophet, knows. That's the first step in the spiritual practice of mystery, to cherish the, accept the mystery and the hidden dimensions of existence around us, and to be able to live with paradoxes if we can. The second poem that I bring to you is again from Maulana, and he says, do you know what you are? Do you know who you are? You are a manuscript of a divine letter. You are a mirror reflecting on a noble face. This universe is not outside of you. Look inside yourself. Everything you want, you are already that. Everything you need, you are absolutely that. And that's just one of the many, many poems where Maulana talks about the mysteries of yourself. So the spiritual practice of mystery also enhances our own understanding of the complexity of this universe. So the third, and sometimes we just want to ignore it. We just want to put everything in black and white. Well, it's not. And sometimes it's outside the boundaries of reason and logic. So my third poem speaks to that. And in the third poem, Maulana says, study me as much as you like. Study me as much as you like. You will not know me. For I differ in 100 ways from what you see me to be. Study me as much as you like, you will not know me, for I differ in 100 ways from what you see me to be. Put yourself behind my eyes and see me as I see myself. For I have chosen to dwell in a place you just cannot see. Put yourself behind my eyes and see me as myself, for I have chosen to dwell in a place you just cannot be, and you just cannot see. So mystery and process theology.
A word to Tim. I wonder if the claim to be non-binary doesn't involve within it saying to yourself and to the world, there's a part of me that can never be placed in simple categories, in simple binaries, male, female, maybe even straight, gay. Those are all categories. And maybe part of this movement is saying there's a part of me that can't fall into any of that. And so you search for a phrase to name that place. And the term used today by many is the term queer. Queer means not inframeable, not locatable, not categorizable. In process theology, all of us have that place within us. And if that's what queer means, then we are all queer. We all contain within ourselves something beyond even our own self-identifications. It doesn't mean the self-identifications are wrong. They can be good too. I'm Jewish. I'm Christian. I'm from Pakistan. I'm from the United States. Those are fine. But there is a place within us that eludes that and can't be reduced to that. If you read a little of Whitehead's philosophy, that place includes what he calls self-creativity. It's a kind of spontaneity within the soul. And at some level, we create ourselves, moment by moment, in relation to the wider world. And we don't just do it once, we do it again and again. And every period of our lives, every age of our lives demands new self-creativity. Who am I now? Who am I now? So Gary, when you write your memoirs, you will be recalling who you were. But in the writing, it will be who you are. Now. We meet the Holy One in the now. Now, to add to the mystery, Rumi's poem says, I'm not just a drop of the water in a vast ocean. I'm a vast ocean in a drop of water. And so every now includes the whole of the universe. Every now. The word in process theology is concrescence. Every now is a concrescence, a coming together of the whole universe. Now, to really love another person, you need to love their mystery. You need to love the fact that you cannot enframe them, that they are always more, always more. And so one of the kindest things you could ever say to a person is, I love you, but I don't know who you are. There's a part of you that I can never grasp or contain or possess or have. It's the mystery of another person. But actually, all creatures have that. Animals, plants, spirits, ancestors. None can be fully framed, fully owned, fully grasped. So it's like we live and move and have our being inside a deep mystery too. And one name for that deep mystery is God, or Allah, or the Tao, or silence. In the house of mystery, there's so many names. None of them fully adequate, but all of them helpful. So that's a process approach to mystery. How about for you? This is our last session, our last class. What are some leading edges of mystery for you? Where are some places where you find mystery? And by the way, it doesn't always have to be beautiful. It can be hard too. Annabelle.
Yes, thank you. What has been brought up about non-binary, I've been dealing with, but it's helped me a lot with, at least, obviously I can't grasp it fully, but at least opening to the dynamic process of being. Mm. And that is, in Hebrew, the translation of the name of God is, I will be what I will be. It's not I am what I am. It's I will be what I will be. So it's becoming. Mm. And it's always becoming. It's never completed. It's always moving. Now, I don't know, I don't want to say moving up, moving down. It's just moving. And that whole concept and feeling of the universe in movement to becoming has just, as I say, blown me away. I'm working on a lot of openness right now, working on myself. And that has added to my ability to be open. If I can hold all of that in my in my being, and accept it for whatever rest of this temporal journey I have, then I'm really going to be in a place where I can appreciate the mystery. It's really quite beautiful, actually.
Well, I think there's nothing more to say about process theology because Annabelle just got it completely. Thank you so much, including the last part, and it's really quite beautiful. Thanks. Anybody else, a leading edge of mystery, whatever it be, whatever it be. Terry.
I'm feeling grateful for the poem about the universe within, because it reminded me of a time I'm in a healing ministry called Healing Pathway. And there was a session when we were looking at kind of going inward and seeing the star center of ourselves. And I remember closing my eyes And instead of seeing what I was told I would see, I was shocked by just a vision of like a nebula of this like space clouds, and I opened my eyes looking rather confused, and they said, what's wrong? And I said, I saw the universe. And then I felt like I did it wrong. But that I'm gonna have to go back and visit that poem, because I hadn't thought of that moment for a very long time. So thank you for that piece.
Anybody else? Thank you, Terry. That's a beautiful image. I think you saw yourself. Anybody else? The leading edge of mystery. Yes, a lead. Let's see, can you unmute, you think?
Ellie Day, if you
wonder
just press down on the space bar and hold it.
Sandy, can you unmute her? It's okay.
I can only ask her to unmute. I can't unmute her.
Oh,
Here I
okay.
am.
Yeah, there you are. There you are.
Here I am. First of all, Gary, you forgot to say poet. You're also a poet. And this is a poetry class. Sorry. I am fascinated. It's a huge mystery to me why Sophia went to the place of Thelma and Louise. I'd like to know what she saw there, what she felt there in the last image of Thelma and Louise that took her to the Grand Canyon. The whole class, all I could think of was that openness of that space that I remember in that film. But I'd like to know what Sophia thought, why you went there, what it is that you saw there. It's a huge mystery to me.
Elite, have you seen that movie?
Oh, many times.
Well, that movie changed the concept of empowerment for me. When I grew up in a third world, I thought empowerment is, I was told all the time, this is what you cannot do. So for me, empowerment was rebelling against what I was told what to do. And I was so fascinated by the ideas of Western feminism. And then things changed and evolved. And we have a whole class session on that movie and my understanding of it that I'll forward you the link. But what really what really got to me from that movie is that all the time when I was in the eastern part of this world, when I was in Pakistan growing up, I was told that you must do this and this and this and all the things that I didn't want to do. And I grew up and I changed and I came here and I evolved. And I wanted different things in my life. And this society was exactly opposite of what I was wanting before. And everything that I wanted here, I was told, no, this is not the norm. I shouldn't be doing that. All the standard had inversed. And then I saw and went back and saw the movie again. And I realized that true empowerment is not being able to put on the scarf, which I was not allowed to, or take off the clothes, which at some point not allowed to. But it's actually being able to do what I really want to do, irrespective of what it is. And that last moment, like liberating yourself from the shackles of whatever you have been confined in, that last moment was so liberating for me, which I never actually understood till I went there and I saw that place which nobody visits. It's not even a tourist spot, if you know about that western side of Grand Canyon. And there is this huge open space where you can go and actually meet the divine, if I may say. And we say in Arabic, man arafa nafsuhu faqad arafa rabbuhu. To know you, God, you must know yourself, or you must meet yourself first before you meet your Lord. So in that huge space, before meeting divine, you actually meet yourself. It's quite an incredible experience of allowing yourself to just fly away. And it's not describable in words. I don't know what I was seeking, but I was questing. And I got there and I just found it. That's all I'll say. I found myself. That's the most appropriate answer. Jay, we are very close to the end of the class. Do you want to say something? Because it's our last.
I think not. I think I want to thank everybody, and I know you do too. So I'll let you close things out, Sophia. Please do.
Well, I'll thank on behalf of both of us for being with us. This is our last session, and you all helped us create this beautiful interfaith space where we came together every Wednesday night and swam in the wisdom of Hafiz and Rumi, our mystical poets and masters, and understood process theology. For some of you, it might have been just a poetry session. For others, it could have been questing, a renewal of your spiritual practices, an imaginarium that we went inside every Wednesday night. And I'm happy with whatever this class meant to you. But I would share briefly in a minute or two what it meant for me, because it has been a very important and a holy experience every Wednesday night. This class became a source of comfort and a source of healing for me when I needed something immensely. I actually plan to spend a whole lot of time with my spiritual masters, Maulana Rumi and Hafiz, in this fall session. I actually bought books of new poems, that newly translated poems that I never had. I plan to read them every week, understand them, unpack and unlayer and unfold all those poems and bring them to you as I prepare for all these classes. Unfortunately, I didn't do any of that, because right after our first class, right after our first session, we had this conflict which started in Gaza and Israel and Palestine. And I talked about it in the second and the third session. And there had been so much death and destruction, leading to all the pain and the grief, leading to so much helplessness, numbness. And again, we talked about it. And for the first time in my life, I thought I would just stop doing everything that I'm doing, because I was deeply impacted by all that was happening and still is happening. My soul has been hurting, like many of your souls too. I couldn't focus. I could not prep. And honestly, the first class is the only class that I prepared for. The rest of them, I have been bringing to you the same old poems that I've been reading for years. I just couldn't prepare. So I decided to stop. In fact, Jay McDaniel called me and said, Sophia, would you like to stop or take a break right after first session? Because I opened my heart to him that how I'm hurting and in pain. And then I thought, no, let me just do one session and then maybe I'll stop. So I did just one more session without preparing, bringing you the same old poems that I've known for years. And the session made me feel better. That night was honestly one of the better nights when I slept better. So next week, when Jay asked me again, and Jay, you'll remember that, Sophia, please, if you want to take a break, please take a break. You don't have to do that, because he knew how badly I was hurting. And I said, no, I'll do it, because this 1 hour every Wednesday night became a great source of comfort for my soul. It healed me. And it nourished me for the rest of the week. It truly became a sacred experience for me, a time that I needed for my own sanctity, for my own comfort. So I want to thank you all for helping create this safe, holy, and sacred space for all of us, but especially for my soul, because I really needed it. And thank you for listening to my same old poems, because I didn't prep. You will not get weekly emails from us anymore. You will get one more email with a closing survey. So please do that survey. You will get a YouTube link with all the recordings for every single session. You will get all the poems in that one email. You will also get mine and Jay's info if you want to stay in touch with us, or if you want to share anything with us. We would love that. The Interfaith Center will definitely host a spring session. We don't know what will it be about and who will be the co-sponsors, but you will get all an email in early January about that. And with that, I will close the class with one poem from Hafiz, because we didn't touch any of Hafiz Shirazi's poem today. So let me close with this poem. Our spiritual teacher, Hafiz Shirazi, says, "Would you think it odd? Would you think it odd if Hafiz says, I am in love with every church. I'm in love with every church and mosque and temple and any kind of shrine, because I know it is there that people say the different names of one God. Would you tell your friends that I was a bit strange? If I admitted I'm indeed love with every mind and heart and body. Oh, I'm sincerely plumb crazy about your every thought and desire and yearning and your limbs and steps, because, my dear, I know that it is through these that you search for the beloved. So, my dear friends and fellow seekers, please searching, please seeking, and continue loving. Have a wonderful rest of the year, and peace, salam, and shalom to all of you.
Sophia, the poems may have been the same to you, but not to any of us, I think.